we're talking about wanting to get the family out, doing something. How about something educational as we try to get more folks back downtown? We've got some guests in the studio right now. Lamont Collins, who is CEO of the Roots101 African American Museum, the new museum. J.C. Jones-Britt is the Community Engagement Director for the new museum. And Daufrey is the creator behind one of the exhibits there. It's called Behind the Roses Art Exhibit. Guys, I'm very excited about this. A new museum. The hours right now, I understand, are Tuesday through Saturday, but it's all in an effort to get some fundraising going so you can be open permanently. So let's start off, Lamont. I want to talk to you. Tell us about this museum, the idea behind it.
Well, the museum is Roots101 African American Museum. The reason we did it is that our kids need to see images, and the city needs to see better images of what we see about African Americans. What we say about Roots101 to young people is that we are descendants of kings and queens that were enslaved in America. That's a game changer when you put on a museum role and kids can see that they're part of America. And what we say is that African American history or black history is history. We were the bulldozers before bulldozers. We were the backhoes before backhoes, and we were the engineers before engineering degrees. So telling our story, telling the story to America is a healing process where we can take the history of America and peel it back and see how America was better when we worked together. So that's what Roots101 is all about.
Lamont, tell me about what people are going to look at right here on my desk, these chains, if you will.
Well, I think on the desk you have 400-year-old chains from Ghana.
Wow.
You got to remember the story of African Americans. We came here as enslaved people, not as slaves, but enslaved in America. Those chains, like I said, are 400 years old. Just the sheer weight of them. You got another collection. We have one of the largest collections in the country of slave chains. One of the most unique chains is a six-hook chain that goes off the neck into hooks. And we're only 3 museums that has that. So for what we have, it's an unbelievable voyage through what we call it Roots101 because in higher education, the first class you take is a 101. And it's an educational journey each step you take in the museum.
Wow. JC, that is very powerful to look down and see this right here. Talk about why it's so important for people to come down to the museum, especially right now in this time.
So it's so important because we need to know our history. There's so many people that are having issues with knowing who they are. Well, you can't know who you are if you don't know where you come from. Mm-hmm. So having the African American Roots African American Museum is one of those pieces that I believe was missing for such a long time to actually completing the puzzle.
Talk a little bit about opening a museum at this time with COVID going on, you know, people kind of staying away from places in general. How hard is it to get people to come? What do we need to do? We're trying to help, but what can other people do to get the word out? Well,
I got it. I think it's the best of times and worst of times.
Yeah.
And you remember the book we used to read in school. The best of times is it's able to open up the problems we have today and find out the problems we have today are historical problems we've had since we've landed in America. So it's so important today because it's timely. And I think the funding will come and people understand this is the time for this. It's not asking you to give us anything, but invest everything in making this a better community. And the more we understand each other, the more we understand who we are and what we are, the better we can love each other and heal from each other.
All right, we want to talk to Daufrey. Tell us about your exhibit. I'm seeing some beautiful artwork on the screen. Tell me about your exhibit.
Hi, thanks for having me. Behind the Roses is the figurative narrative of the African American horseman, not just the jockey, but the African American men who spearheaded the horse industry here, specifically in Kentucky, that were behind the scenes, like Mr. Lamont said, the bulldozer before the bulldozer. These were men that were fathers, they were husbands, they were hard workers, they had more than one job. And I was charged with, you know, really trying to bring those illustrative stories to life about who these men were behind the horse industry. So when you see this collection of paintings, some of them have horses in them, but a lot of them do not, because that is not the focus. The focus is the men behind the horse.
And how long will your exhibit be on display there at the museum?
As of right now, we're going through November. Okay. We haven't necessarily set a date just yet, but you know, we're definitely through November. So.
Okay. And I guess maybe, JC, you could hit on this. During COVID, certainly all precautions are being taken there at the museum?
Yes. So when you come for one of the fundraising tours, you are to get a temperature check, have your mask, and social distance as much as possible.
Okay. And have you guys been getting a lot of interest, people saying, and you're right by the Fraser, correct? So if people want to know, where do I go? That's right where it is.
Correct. We've had all kind of attention. We've been featured in every major publication in the country. We were featured by Architectural Digest as the top 20 museums in the world, opening in 2020. That's in the world. So I tell you that we're doing something right. The coolest thing is that we just did a partnership with PATH, which is Preserving African American Turf History, and one of the greatest collection of black jockeys in the country would now be part of our collection along with Doffrey's collection. So we have stepped up and stepped out, and we're also bringing something even better called Sankofa Stables. And that would be a riding stable for young black kids to understand the history of blacks in the horse industry, because West Africans came to America, they already knew horses. So it was only a fit for Africans to be horse traders or horse trainers or jockeys. The first 15 out of 20 jockeys were black that won the Kentucky Derby. The first Churchill Downs that ran, 13 out of 15 jockeys on that first race of Kentucky Derby was African Americans. So we're going to entwine that in the history of us with jockeys, the history of us in the horse country. It's all a story that should be told here in Kentucky.
All right. And we just got a few seconds here before we go to Governor Holcomb's press conference, but I'm sure you all want to try to get some school groups down there and get some business corporation donations.
Yes, yes. So what we're doing right now are the fundraising tours, so that we can raise funds to actually be able to open up to the public permanently. They can come down for a self-guided tour from 11 to 12, 2 to 3, or 5 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday. And if you want a guided tour, you just need to call 502-384-1940 and set up a guided tour appointment.
All right. Roots 101. Guys, thank you so much for being here today.